What went so wrong with one of the most trusted canned food brands in American history? How does a company that survived 2 world wars, a Great Depression, and over 130 years of fierce competition suddenly collapse into bankruptcy? Was it poor leadership, changing eating habits, or something far more hidden behind the label? Is Del Monte just another victim of modern market shifts, or did they create the disaster themselves? In today's video, we uncover the untold story behind the shocking downfall of Del Monte. The truth might surprise you, so stay with us till the end, because what you'll discover goes far beyond just canned food. Del Monte was once a name that symbolized quality, tradition, and reliability. With bright yellow cans stacked in nearly every supermarket in America, it felt like Del Monte would be around forever. But today, things are very different. The company has filed for bankruptcy. Plants have been shut down. Thousands of workers have been laid off. And investors are pulling away. But this didn't happen overnight. Behind this collapse is a complex story of changing consumer habits, poor management decisions, and a mountain of debt. In this video, we'll break down the 5 major reasons why Del Monte failed, and what this means for the future of the canned food industry. Number 1. The fall of canned food culture. Del Monte's decline didn't begin with bad business decisions. It started with a cultural shift. For most of the 20th century, canned food was a staple in every household. It symbolized convenience, long shelf life, and affordability. During the post-war boom, families relied heavily on canned goods to feed growing households. Del Monte thrived in this environment, becoming a trusted name in American kitchens. But by the late 1990s and early 2000s, things began to change. A new generation of consumers embraced fresh, organic, and locally sourced food. Health trends, documentaries, and social media influencers began highlighting the benefits of eating fresh and avoiding processed food. Suddenly, canned food wasn't just old-fashioned. It was seen as unhealthy or low quality, even as Del Monte tried to adjust with updated labels and no preservatives claims. The brand couldn't shake the perception that canned equals processed. And with private label store brands offering similar products at cheaper prices, Del Monte lost its edge. Younger shoppers simply didn't feel any connection to the brand their grandparents trusted. In a world obsessed with freshness, Del Monte's legacy began to feel stale, and they couldn't keep up with the changing appetite of the modern consumer. Reason number 2. The pandemic miscalculation. At first, the COVID-19 pandemic seemed like a blessing in disguise for Del Monte. As lockdowns began, millions of people rushed to stockpile non-perishable foods, and canned goods became one of the hottest items in grocery stores. Del Monte saw a sudden spike in demand and quickly ramped up production, expecting the trend to last for a long time. But that demand turned out to be temporary. By late 2021, as restrictions eased and people returned to restaurants and fresh food, the canned food craze came to a halt. Unfortunately, Del Monte had already overproduced. Their warehouses overflowed with inventory, much of it unsold. To clear the backlog, they were forced to sell products at heavy discounts. Some were even discarded due to expiration. This error cost the company millions. What started as a temporary win became a long-term financial burden. Worse, while competitors reacted quickly by adjusting supply, reducing costs, and diversifying their offerings, Del Monte remained stuck. They misread the market, failed to adapt, and paid the price. This wasn't just a wrong forecast. It was a clear signal of internal mismanagement and a lack of strategic foresight in rapidly changing conditions. Reason number 3. Cost explosion. And tariff troubles. While demand fell, costs continued to rise. One of the biggest problems for Del Monte came from steel and aluminum tariffs imposed in recent years. For a company that sells products mostly in cans, this was a financial nightmare. Cost of packaging alone skyrocketed. Combined with rising transportation costs, labor shortages, and inflation on basic ingredients like sugar and salt, Del Monte's production expenses ballooned. But here's the real issue. they couldn't raise their prices to match these rising costs. Why? Because the competition was fierce. Generic store brands offer nearly identical canned goods at much lower prices. Consumers already questioning the value of canned food had little reason to stay loyal to Del Monte. The brand that was once trusted for premium quality couldn't justify its higher prices. And because of the tight market, they were stuck paying more to produce the same products while earning less revenue. In simple words, Del Monte was bleeding money. Reason number 4, a history of mismanaged ownership. Del Monte's biggest hidden weakness may have been its chaotic history of ownership changes. Over the last 4 decades, the company has been bought and sold countless times by tobacco giants, private equity firms, international investors, and even its own managers. Each time the company changed hands, new leaders came in with different strategies. Some wanted to cut costs. Others wanted to expand into new products like pet food or beverages. At one point, half of Del Monte's revenue came from pet food sales until that business was sold off. These constant shifts left Del Monte without a clear identity. Was it a produce company, a pet food brand, a global player, or a domestic legacy brand? The result was confusion, not just for investors and consumers, but for employees, retailers, and the public. And during all of this, no single leadership team stuck around long enough to build a long-term strategy. It's hard to grow a company when you're always hitting reset. And for Del Monte, that lack of focus proved fatal. Reason number 5, a crushing debt load. Let's be clear. Debt is not always a bad thing. Many businesses use it to invest and grow. But in Del Monte's case, debt became a permanent burden. Time the company was sold, large amounts of debt were added, often to leverage buyouts. This means the new owners borrowed money to buy the company and then left the debt on Del Monte's books. Over time, the interest payments stacked up. Reports suggest that by 2025, Del Monte was paying nearly $120 million per year just in interest. That's money that wasn't going toward improving products, marketing, or expanding operations. In many years, Del Monte would have shown a profit if it didn't have to make those debt payments. The debt became like a chain around the company's neck, dragging it down every time it tried to get up. And when interest rates increased in 2024, the burden became unbearable. Eventually, there was no way out except bankruptcy. So what happens now? Del Monte's bankruptcy doesn't mean the brand will disappear overnight. In fact, the company has received emergency funding to continue operations. The shelves won't suddenly go empty, and shoppers may not even notice any changes for now. But behind the scenes, major decisions are being made. Del Monte may be sold to a new owner. The canned food line might shrink or be completely rebranded. Jobs may continue to be lost, and factories may remain closed. Some believe that with the right leadership, Del Monte could make a comeback. Maybe. By focusing on sustainability, adding ready-to-eat healthy meals, or even joining the frozen food trend, there's still a chance. But others argue that the damage is done. The brand has lost its shine, and it may never regain its former position. Also, what do you think? Can Del Monte rise from the ashes and reinvent itself in a world that favors fresh and fast food? Or is this the final chapter for one of America's oldest grocery brands? Have you recently bought any Del Monte product, or do you prefer store brand alternatives? And what would you do if you were in charge of saving Del Monte? Let us know in the comments. We'd love to hear your take, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into one of the most surprising collapses in the food industry, make sure to hit that like button, subscribe to our channel BizWorld Explorer, and turn on the bell icon so you never miss our next investigation into the business world. Thanks for watching. Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring.